Hi folks, welcome back to the Tabletop's Edge. Just a short video today to address a couple of questions a viewer had that pertain to setting up the 1939 global war scenario. And since I have not yet done a video on the setup process for that scenario or any of the other scenarios, and I probably won't be getting to one anytime soon, I thought I'd take this opportunity to do a short video, a few minutes long, that at least addressed these couple questions, just in case some others out there had the same one. So let's go ahead and get started. The first question involves how to deal with large stacks, especially for the naval powers like Japan, the Commonwealth, and the United States. Well, the short answer is to use the task force display, which comes in the Ships in Flames expansion. As you can see, this separate board has several boxes, 6 different boxes. Each box corresponds to a number of task forces for each of the major powers. The way it works is you simply place all of the ships that are stacked together and are part of that particular task force in the boxes here, and then the task force marker is then placed on the map. So you can see all of these Japanese ships here are part of the Strike Task Force, and I have the Strike Task Force located here in Tokyo Harbor. So rather than moving all of the individual ships around the map, I can simply take the Strike Task Force marker, move it into whichever C box it's going to, and I know that all of these ships and carrier planes are located in that spot. Now, what if you don't have the Ships in Flames expansion? Well, this is yet another reason why I strongly recommend getting it. It's expensive, but it is good value for the money. If you don't have that, you could create your own homemade version of that. You just have to come up with some sort of unused marker in the game to denote the various task forces, but it should be fairly simple to duplicate the Ships in Flames task force display on some cardstock that you've got at home, print something up, whatever works for you. If that's a little too industrious for you, I have seen people split up the stacks, especially in port, and make several smaller, more manageable sized stacks next to the port. You'll just have to be sure that you're keeping straight which port all of the actual ships belong to. I have also seen it works a little bit better at sea with the sea boxes. If you have a very large task force that's sailing out, and say it's going to be in the 3 box here, you can again break the stacks down into manageable sizes and then simply stack them next to one another below or above the C box number. And we would do this for instances where you have the opponents. If the Commonwealth or United States had several ships, a large stack in the 3 box as well, they would simply stack theirs going to the opposite side. It's kind of there's no real good answer to it, but those are some of the suggestions I've seen and have used in the past. And again, I think the best option is to use the task force display board. We're actually staying in Asia for the second question, which concerns the at-start line for setting up in China in 1939. It's a little difficult to see, and I thought the best way to explain it to you would be to just actually show you. Now, because the WIF maps were designed to work with all of the scenarios, including some post-war scenarios for things like Patton in Flames, they've got a lot of information printed on the maps. In China, the situation is probably about as bad as it gets anywhere because of how congested it is. But you can see there are some solid yellow dashed lines. Those are used only for the post-war scenarios, so you can ignore the yellow dashed lines in any scenario starting prior to that. The start line used is a very kind of faint pink dotted line, which it's hard to make out here. You can see it perhaps a little better down here by Canton. There we go. You can see it a little better here. They wanted to make the start lines unobtrusive, but the flip side of that is they can be hard to see. So we'll just go over basically hex by hex and show you where the Japanese can set up and where they cannot in the 1939 scenario. You'll notice we'll start here with Canton, and you've got the pink line here indicating that this hex is Japanese controlled and the Japanese may set up there. To the west, you see another pink dotted line here on this hex next to Hanoi, just to the east of it. However, there are some year dates in here, 41, 42, 43, and 44. These dates indicate that this start line is only in effect for scenarios that begin in these years. So in the 1939 scenario, this hex is Chinese controlled, not Japanese controlled. However, if you were playing the 44 scenario, Japan would control this hex. So after Canton, we move up the coast. Again, Foochow has a 41, 42, 43, 44. So this is Chinese controlled for the 1939 scenario. And we start actually up by Hangzhou. You can see right along the edge of the weather zone, which again can make it a little difficult to see, you've got the pink dotted start line. So up north of this line, these hexes are Japanese controlled. Wuhan is Japanese controlled. It then turns slightly to the northeast, going east of Chengchao, up to the resource hex, west to the mountains, and then follows into Taiwan, and then the resource hex, and finally the desert hex. So all of the hexes that are north and east of this line in China are Japanese controlled. So I hope that helps as far as the setup and where you can set up in China and Japan. And again, if folks have other questions involving setup or even some other aspects of the game, if I have a chance to do a short little video on those, I will go ahead and squeeze those in. So I appreciate you watching today, and stay tuned. We've got some more tutorial stuff as well as the July-August 1940 turn. Take care.